All right. So let's. That was fun. Let's not do that anymore. Let's change it back. Because we're not going to host it on GitHub Pages anymore. We're going to host it on Firebase. Firebase has hosting. Why not just do it there? So let's see how to do that. Change hash router. Change hash router back to browser router. Let's look at Create React Apps documentation because it's so super thorough. We've got the user guide down here. Got a whole section on deployment. And we saw there's a section on GitHub Pages. Let's find that again real quick. And notice notes on client-side routing. So this is talking about the issue that we had. So GitHub Pages doesn't support routers that use the HTML5 push state history API under the hood, which is what React Router, when you use Browser Router, does. So there are a couple of different ways to fix that, it'll note. So the point here is you can find this information without me telling it to you. It is documented. So you could switch to using routing with hashes, using hash router. Or you could trick GitHub Pages by having 404 redirect to index.html. There's a downside to doing that, but you could do that. So anyway, but we're not going to deploy to GitHub Pages anymore. We're going to deploy to Firebase because, for heaven's sake, we're already using Firebase. So install the Firebase command line interface if you haven't already by running npm install-g Firebase tools. You could type that command. You should also be able to say yarn add global Firebase tools, but that might not work for everybody. If it didn't work for you to yarn add global create React app, because I know that didn't work for everybody, then it's not going to work here either. So you could do an npm install-g Firebase tools. Then it says to run Firebase init from your project's root. So I'll run Firebase init, just like git init. Firebase init. You're about to initialize a Firebase project in this directory. Which Firebase CLI features do you want to set up for this folder?
What is that?
If I had my screen wider, it would probably say Firebase in Fire or something. But anyway, which Firebase CLI feature do you want to set up for this folder? We already have the database. It's hosting that I want to do. So just use your arrow keys and say hosting. Press spacebar to select. Hit enter, hosting. Okay. Authentication error, your credentials are no longer valid because I've already used the CLI before. So I will say Firebase login reauth. You shouldn't have to do that. Allow Firebase to collect anonymous CLI usage information. No thanks. It's going to want me to sign in. Now I just need to remember who I was signed into Firebase as. Who am I here? I am David at getfretless.com. Okay. David at getfretless.com. Firebase CLI wants access to your Google account. Firebase CLI is my Google account, so okay. Firebase login successful. Very good. So now I need to run Firebase init. Which Firebase features? I want hosting, so down twice, spacebar, enter. Select a default Firebase project for this directory. Use the arrow keys. I will say notes 18 S1 morning. What do you want to use as your public directory? Now this, I think, is not right. Let's read here. It should tell me. Build. So when you run yarn deploy, it also runs yarn build or npm run build, which generates the actual static files with the real JS, not JSX. and it puts them in a folder called build. So we have to tell Firebase that it's build. So I will type build. So that's the one like non-obvious answer there. So make sure you say build. And it is documented in the Create React App User Guide. Configure as a single page app, rewrite all rules, all URLs to index.html. Yes, that's exactly what we want to do. This is why we don't have to use HashRouter, because we can configure our Firebase hosting to just do the rewrite to index.html for us. So I will say yes. File build index.html already exists. Overwrite. Yes. It'll be overwritten again when we do another deploy anyway. So I'll say yes, sure, why not? Okay, that's done. Okay, there's some other things you have to do if you want to use the service worker. Need to set proper HTTP caching headers for serviceworker.js in firebase.json. So there's a firebase.json in here now? There sure is. So that's one thing that it did. It created a firebase.json and a Firebase RC. So this has our actual Firebase config in it. So firebase.json is the one I want. And it looks like I need to add some stuff here. So there's a section about headers. Let's copy where it says headers. And I have hosting. So this is inside hosting, but after public and rewrite. So I'm going to put a comma after this array here. I'm going to paste in what it said there. Okay, because it said to. Now, after I create a production build with npm run build, I can deploy it running Firebase deploy. So Firebase deploy. Yeah.
I'm a little behind. What's the init function we need to?
Firebase init.
Firebase. It says the command's not found.
So you need to do a yarn add global Firebase-tools.
I just did that, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, do an npm install -g. Firebase tools. Maybe.
Yeah, it said it was done. Yeah.
Yeah, it may just not be in your path, so try the npm install -g way of installing it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So let me get mine working real quick, then we can help. All right, so I'm going to now that we're using Firebase, I think my package.json should probably say my deploy script should probably be, instead of GH pages, it should probably be Firebase deploy, because that's what it said to do, Firebase deploy like this. And remember, all of this is documented in the Create React App README. So change this to Firebase deploy. And then let's try running yarn deploy. See what happens. Okay, it exploded. Can't resolve Firebase app in here. Okay, that's no good. It's not getting my my like npm modules, my node modules. But there's another thing you might notice here. See, does it tell me this? So notes 18 S1 morning. Let me get to my right. Let me get to the correct thing here. Hosting. So my homepage is going to be wrong here. My homepage right now points to bootcamp18s1 fretless.com/noteherder. That's not going to work anymore. So we will have to change this to our Firebase URL if we can get our Firebase URL. Let me try typing Firebase deploy here. Okay, that worked. Firebase deploy worked. Yarn deploy did not. So that's something maybe we can fix at some point. At the moment, yeah, that did not work. But Firebase deploy totally worked. And it gives me my hosting URL. See, notes 18s1morning.firebase.com. So make sure this is important in your package.json. You replace your GitHub pages URL with your Firebase URL. Now I'm going to try it in my browser and see if it actually works. Page not found. No index HTML found in the current directory. Maybe this just hasn't happened yet. Actually, you know what? The 18 one is way out of date. I probably should have done afternoon. I should have done afternoon. So when I do it in the afternoon, it may work. My configuration is way out of date for morning. My database is way out of date. I'm not sure if that's the issue or not, honestly. What if I do run Firebase into it again? Okay, let's do it again. Configure deploy hosting. Firebase.json is not it. Firebase RC maybe. Firebase RC tells me 18s1 morning. Let's change that to afternoon. So if I change that there and here to afternoon, let's see if it works. Let's just see if this works. Firebase deploy. It still says 18s1 morning, even though I changed it. Huh? Custom what?
So you can do custom URLs.
Yes.
But you have to have the Firebase app at the end.
What?
Oh, like with your URL.
That was the name of my project. That's just the name of my project.
Oh, okay.
Since I gave it a unique name, it didn't have to generate some like dash A537 whatever. Yeah, so yours wasn't a unique name because there are lots of note herders out there because this isn't the first time I've taught this class. Plus, there's 50 people creating it at the same time. So mine's not quite working on, we'll see if it works in the afternoon. If it does, I'll update my GitHub repo to show that URL. But I'm still going to go ahead and commit this. Configure for Firebase hosting.